I'll give the demonstration for final members. Already in whiteboard session, we have seen what are final members. Let us check them here in a program. I have a class that is final demo. It is having a main method. Inside a main method, I will declare one final variable, integer type, and I will assign the value 10. Yes, this is perfect. There is no error. So this is how you can declare final identifiers. I can declare an identifier for a constant like pi value. So 3.1425 I have taken, that is float. F should be written for the literal, float literal. So this is a pi value. Then I can use this inside my main method. So let us see what is allowed and not allowed for final. I will remove this initialization. Then let us see what compiler has to say. It doesn't say anything. We know that the final variables must be initialized, right? I have not initialized, so I am not getting any error. I will run the program. Program is not doing anything. It will run perfectly. But when I use this identifier, let us see what happens. I will try to print the value pi. It's an error. What is an error? Variable pi might not have been initialized. So this is the error. So I cannot use it. So what I will do is I will try to initialize it afterwards in the next statement. Is it allowed? Let us check. Yes, it is working. So this is happening inside a method. I can declare a final member along with initialization, or I can do initialization afterwards also. But when I use it without initialization, it is error. I will remove this from here. Now I will write it as a member of a class. I will write it here. Final float pi. It's an error. When you declare it as a member of a class without initialization, it's an error. Now you can see that variable pi not initialized in the default constructor. So if it was inside a method, it was allowed, but as a member of a class, it is not allowed. So I must initialize it. So I will write down 3.1425. So I am assigning it to pi now. So now it is not an error. But here I am getting an error. What is the error? Let us see. It is saying that I cannot use a non-static member inside a static method. So if I want to use it, I should also include a keyword that is static. I will remove this static and I will not print it. I will remove this statement. Now let us try to do initialization in next line. Okay, I will do it in the next line. So pi I will initialize later, and here I will declare it. Is it allowed or not? No, it's an error. It says identifier expected. So actually it is not allowed to initialize it later on. But is it allowed if I use a block? Yes, if I use a block, then it is allowed. This block is an instance block, so I can initialize it in an instance block. I will make this as a static block. Let us see whether it is allowed or not. No, not allowed. It is possible if I make this as static, then it is allowed. So I can initialize them inside static block if the final members are also static members. If they are not static, then I can initialize them inside instance block. Just a brackets you have to give, and that is an instance block. Now I will remove it. Now the next thing. There is another method of initialization I have shown you. I can define a constructor for this class, final demo, and inside the constructor I am initializing. So there are three ways of initializing final members of a class. Directly initialize them, or inside the constructor, or we can do it inside instance block. So this is all about final members or identifiers. Now let us move on to final methods. I will remove this. Outside this, I will write one class test, and inside this I will define one final method, public final void show, and this will display something. I am displaying a hello message in this one. So this method is final. So what happens if you make the methods as final? You cannot override them in subclasses. So I will write one class called test1 and that extends from test. So this test1 is extending from test. I will try to override. I will write down public void show and empty brackets. It's an error. See, if I take the cursor there, it clearly says that show in test1 cannot override show in test. Overridden method is final. So the method that you are trying to override is a final method. You cannot override it. So making the methods final, we can restrict overriding. So we can restrict polymorphism, runtime polymorphism. Now next, we will see final class. So I will remove final from here. Once I remove, there is no problem here inside this extended class. Now to this class test, I will make it as final. Now it's an error. What it says, cannot inherit from final test. So this class test1 is inheriting from test. So error message is we cannot inherit from final class. So final classes cannot be inherited or extended. So that's all about the usage of final keyword. There are three things. So there are three ways of using it: for the identifiers to define constant values, for methods to restrict overriding, and to classes to restrict inheritance. So you can test these things by yourself, check them once. See, you should be familiar with the type of style of code that you are writing and the type of errors that you get and what is the meaning of errors. So that is more important, because when you really develop some application and if you got some error, you should be able to trace it and remove it. So this is just a demo, but you must do this by yourself once. So that's all in this video.